This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. As we all know, they never let a good crisis go to waste, especially a good crisis that they create. And out of this crisis, of course, there is a lot of things that have come, and there are a lot more things that are going to come of it. Of course, the agendas that are pushed, the outcome of what ends up happening with the land, of course, the climate agenda that they'll shove down our throats. But look what just happened to get tied into all the mess there. The agenda I've been covering over and over and over again over the last couple of years, even though I'm a brand new YouTuber, wink, wink. We have the police in Maui demanding, asking, pleading, and begging with survivors to come forward and give their DNA to the police so that they can identify the remains of any of the other victims. Now you might say, well, why would they give their DNA? What's the big deal about giving your DNA? Well, if you're not aware of what's been going on over the last couple of years, it's really been about your DNA, your genetic code, which is personal to you, which God gave each one of us, our own unique DNA code. That is something that they do not want you to have. And thus, we know for a fact they've been hell-bent on editing people's DNA codes. Now, I can't go into further detail here. I can on the website. We all know why. Because we've all been talking about a specific something that has the capability to edit genetic strands, to edit people's DNA, to edit who they are, right? We heard Klaus Schwab talk about it will change you. That's exactly what's going on. So one of the big things we've seen over the last couple of years is them not just wanting your DNA, changing your DNA, but them coming up with programs, coming up with psyops to convince people to submit their DNA. The most obvious one, which I've covered over and over again, is Ancestry.com. How the dumbed down people out there, and even not dumbed down, I understand there are good people. I understand that people out there want to know their history and stuff like that. So they play off of that. They create TV shows on PBS where celebrities come forward, and we find out that they're all related to royalty. Nobody gets suspicious, of course, because all of these people are related to one another. They become famous because they're put in these positions. They're all related. The heads of corporations related to Hollywood actors. What a coincidence, right? It's because they're placed in these positions because they're all parts of the same bloodline. Now, you end up seeing it on Ancestry, but no light bulb goes off in people's heads about how these people are all related. But what they think when they watch it is, I could be related to these people. Who am I related to? Am I related to the Pillsbury Doughboy? Am I related to Steve Urkel? Am I related to one of the Backstreet Boys? I mean, it goes on and on and on the way people start thinking when they see these shows, and they don't realize that they're doing that on purpose, because when you submit your DNA to Ancestry, that DNA does not go in the trash can once they send you back a print sheet that says you may or may not have been related to Al Capone. That DNA goes directly to the government, into a database. Now, from that point and that perspective, we have these other things that they've trickled in, right? All of the stuff with true crime. True crime is a very popular thing these days, but they use it to subliminally plant seeds in people's heads. One is CCTV. How all these bad people are getting captured thanks to CCTV, which is understandable that there are benefits to things like that. But overall, having a police state and a military state is what they want, so they're convincing you of why it's good. The other thing they do, as you saw the Idaho situation, is they tell you that, well, thankfully, because other people submitted their DNA, or they have other people's DNA, they were able to find the guy responsible through these new methods of DNA, profiling, et cetera, et cetera. So it's about a DNA grab. And now what we're hearing, conveniently from Maui, is that they want people to give their DNA so they can figure out who is who. Now, I'm not going to go out on a limb here, but Maui's a pretty small island, okay? If you have a relative who was in Lahaina or in one of the areas where there was a fire, and you haven't seen them by now, they're probably not alive, unfortunately, okay? Because where are they going to go? Are they jumping on a boat going to another island? Where were they going to flee to? Okay, it's not like situations like events that occur or the 11th of September where people were, where, you're never going to find the body. They use these things to manipulate people into giving their DNA. So they're playing off this with the victims there. And of course, conveniently, for those of you who are new to all of this stuff, the police officer, let's start there, who is showing his face all over the place, who is letting everybody know he's the Maui police chief, John Pelletier. John Pelletier, you might say, who's this guy? Who's this clown? I'm about to play the clip of him, and the acting is just over the top. It is so bad, which it always is with these people. And he is pleading with people to come forward and submit their DNA, of course, so they can identify Jane and John Doe. But this is another character we've seen elsewhere. Where? Oh, the event in Las Vegas. So how convenient. I'm sure the government didn't place John over here in Maui knowing another event would occur after he was at another event in Vegas. That's very coincidental that he happens to be around all of these wink, wink events that occur that are all naturally occurring events. There's nothing behind it. Give me a break. I mean, Las Vegas was one of those events that they censored everybody on for covering. Obviously, it was another event where they were looking to create something so that they can make you afraid of going to concerts, thus they can convince people into coming after the Second Amendment. This is what they do, right? So they ship this guy from Vegas to Maui, and well, listen to him beg for your DNA.
When we find these, our family and our friends, the remains we're finding is through a fire that melted metal. We have to do rapid DNA to identify them. Every one of these 89 are John and Jane Does. We know we've got to go quick, but we got to do it right. So when we pick up the remains and they fall apart, and so when you have 200 people running through the scene yesterday, and some of you, that's what you're stepping on. I don't know how much more you want me to describe it. That's what you're stepping on. Give us a little bit of time to contain that. Please. Because we've got to go make 89 notifications. And coming from a place that had to make 58, I understand the pain this is going to take. And we're not done with 89. So just understand what this thing is, because none of us really know the size of it yet. Everybody wants a number. You want it fast or you want it right? We're going to do it right.
So, I mean, I haven't seen acting like this since the hook that occurred at Sandy. Well, maybe not. We've seen plenty of horrible acting, but this is up there, of course, and coincidentally, he happens to be there because, everybody's around multiple natural occurrences, just like we see multiple parents. I mean, some of the stories I heard, multiple parents who had children in schools where events occurred multiple times in different states, right? Nobody was suspicious of that at all. Of course, the most recent one in Tennessee that I covered a few months ago. But here's the news clip talking about how they want people to come forward about DNA so that they can, of course, identify the bodies.
ABC's Will Carr and the latest on those search efforts days later, and hundreds still waiting on word from their loved ones.
Tonight, that painstaking search for the missing through the charred landscape of Lahaina. As the search and rescue continues, they are spray painting X's on each building that's cleared. And it's not just homes, it's also cars, street by street, block by block. Officials now asking for the public's help.
If you've got missing family members, go to the FAC. We need you to do the DNA test. We need to identify your loved ones.
Outside the Family Assistance Center in Kahului, many still searching for lost loved ones.
This is Joel and Adela.
Ace Yabez says he's looking for 9 of his family members.
We've been to a lot of hotels inside Lahaina, but none of them are there. So we've been to police station, we called Red Cross, anywhere that we can find them, but nothing.
And Benny Kalua flew in from the mainland to find his 98-year-old Aunt Eloise.
We're not only just trying to find her, we want a confirmation that she's safe. So.
What was the last you heard?
She was at the senior center in Lahaina.
Being evacuated?
Yes, it also burned down.
Every shelter has lists of people who are still missing, those who have been found, even pictures. You have Melva Benjamin and Ed Sato. These are the faces of the missing as families are still holding on to hope that their loved ones are still out there.
A Maui local creating a public spreadsheet where people can track down their loved ones. So far, almost 5,000 names have been entered, over 1,000 still not found.
As the search continues, residents are cut off from the hardest hit parts of Lahaina. There is no cell phone service there, and they are desperate to get in to try to find their family members. Lindsay.
Yeah, that is most important of all.
So again, this is all about getting your DNA. I've said it a million times. People will vouch for me who have listened to my channel over and over and over again have heard me say this. Now, there are DNA programs in place. So one of the things we've heard, I can't play the news clip here, there was an event in Uvalde. Okay, those types of events that occur at schools now, they're coming in with child ID protection programs. They tell you it's to protect you. They tell you it's to identify your child. That's how hell-bent they are on getting your DNA. And this, of course, goes back to whom? Whom's another group that's out there looking for your DNA? Oh, the Freemasons, right? So if you're new to all this stuff and you're like, what's a Freemason? Are those people that show up during our, summer parade and they sit there with those weird hats on? Yes. And you know who they worship? Lucifer. That's right, Lucifer. But just like celebrities, they put a front on, they show up at events and pretend that they care about kids and they care about the town and the community, and they ask for donations, et cetera, because they have to put a front on in case somebody becomes suspicious as to what's going on in that little building in every town in America. And you might say, there's not one in my town. Well, if there isn't one in your town, you must be in a really small town. But I guarantee there's probably one within 10 miles of where you live, a Freemasonic lodge. At these towns, these people go there. A lot of people go, well, it's like a fraternity, right? No, it's not. You're initiated into Freemasonry. Usually you have to be, somebody to get in, or you got to apply, you got to go forward and get interviewed, etc. And then once you're in there, you go through degrees, right? You graduate into different degrees. And as you graduate, you're given more knowledge. And eventually these people, as they go through above the third degree, they begin to get taught that Lucifer is God, and they start to worship Lucifer. They start to be indoctrinated and taught Egyptian teachings, which is all cult teachings. They start getting taught all these things that about them being, chosen people, and they make good men better and all of this stuff. They go through bizarre rituals where they dress up in their underwear and people hold swords to their throats, where they're put inside of caskets and they shut the lid. All of this stuff has roots in Satanism and the occult. They won't present themselves that way. You expect a Satanist to show up or a Luciferian to show up, obviously with, dressed a certain way and to look a certain way. These people are wearing suits and ties, okay? Their Druid outfits are suits and ties. Look no further than the White House. Look no further than the Senate. Look no further than Congress in general. Look no further than corporations, Bezos, all these guys. They're all in the occult. They're all members of secret societies. And they all start, for the most part, at the same place. Because even if somebody's born into a bloodline and their father or their mother is a very prominent person, say hypothetically the Kennedys or the Queen of England, okay, they still go through either the same Freemasonic teachings that these people do at a very young age. They just do it sooner, right? What Freemasons do is they recruit what's called Demolays, Job's daughters, rainbow girls, young children in the community, and they begin indoctrinating them with this. So by the time they turn 17, 18 years old, they go into Freemasonry or they go into Eastern Star, Job's daughters. That's for the females out there. Also, to me, I just call them Eastern Star witches because that's what they are. You can even look at their logo. It's a pentagram. It's the same logo that the Satanists use. Or, if you don't believe, you're like, oh, yeah, I've seen that. What does that thing mean? It means witchcraft, okay? It's, they're like, oh, it's Wiccan. No, just call it Satanism is what it is, satanic. You could use it. Look at the pentagram inverted. I mean, the Satanic Temple uses it. We see it in Satanism all the time. So, signs and symbols rule the world, okay? They're right in front of our faces. Don't listen to these people. They're liars, like their father, the devil. They lie. They pretend. Of course they pretend not to be in it. What do you think? They're going to come out and admit to this stuff? Eventually they will when they feel safe enough. They're not going to come out and admit it. Instead, they're going to call us tinfoil hat wearers. But all one has to do is read their teachings. They know it's hard to keep this stuff contained now with the internet and everything else out there where people can access their teachings and their books and all the literature they have from Pike, etc. on, where you could read about what they do and who they worship. So let's take a look at the Freemasonic ID program, because the Freemasons in your town, one of the things they care so much about is getting your children's DNA, because, they want to be able to identify your kid if he's lost. None of it makes sense. The only thing that makes sense is the fact that they want your DNA, because we all know what they want to do with your DNA.
My particular lodge got involved with the Child ID program about 5 years ago. Before that, we were just a lodge that did ritual, and we wanted to get out into the community. And so a number of us contacted Grand Lodge, Chris Siebenmark, and we started out with a elementary school in the area, and it was sort of successful. But then after that, we started, brainstorming, and we got into, like today, we're doing an air show here. And at this particular air show, we've done up to 300 children in 2 days. We all wanted to be Masons, but we also wanted something more than just the Masonry. So we wanted to, again, get out into the community and try and help people out. And we've partnered with the Phoenix Lodge to get members from their lodge and our lodge together to help staff an event like this. So we've become very close with the Phoenix Lodge.
As being a Mason, I just came in and decided that I wanted to help do something. So we promoted the Child ID. It's a free program for children. We really enjoy our children and want to keep them safe. I've been a Mason for 15 years, and I'm trying to give back to the community. We're just trying to do a good job and help save a child.
Now, on other occasions, we've needed additional help. Our members were not available, so we brought in the D-Malay and the Rainbow Girls as well to help us do these events. And it's a great partnership because for us, we can staff the event, and for the D-Malay and for the Rainbow Girls, it gives them some community service. So it's just been really, really awesome.
I'm a pediatric nurse, and to me it's very valuable to see that our children are protected. Tomorrow we'll have a whole group of the youth that will be here. Even though we're not from the Plymouth Rock Lodge, we're supporting them because they don't have a youth group of their own. So it's some role modeling of what the Masons do and role models for the kids about what they can do and how they can be involved in the community.
I didn't know this existed before coming to the program tonight. It just seemed like a good idea to have record of my kid and information on file somewhere so that way if anything ever happened to him or if anybody ever took him, then there'd be a better way of finding him.
The reason I'm interested in the Child ID program is because it just makes it easier just in case, say, you do turn around and all of a sudden your child runs off. We've all had it happen. And it just makes it easier for you to find them without having so much stress and worry.
The information that the Masons get, I mean, it's just vital. It's great information. It's a lot of information. I mean, if you go on vacation and your child gets lost, you have that information with you. That's something you can give to the police. Somebody can be getting that information off of that CD about your child. You're looking for your child. Other police officers are looking for your child. More people who are out looking, the greater chance you have of finding, or a quicker chance of finding your child.
In doing these child ID programs for our particular lodge, it's a way to basically be out of the lodge setting. For the new guys coming into the lodge, they want more than just the ritual and things like that. They want to be in the community. And when the newer members of our lodge come out and help us, they get to know us, we get to know them. And for some of the elder members of the lodge that haven't been around in a while, they just hang out and, like a little bit of fellowship here and there. It's worked out really well for us. I think it can help open doors between Masons and the communities that they live in.
So that's the Freemasons who want your DNA. And again, one of the other things they can do with your DNA, and I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I know everybody who listens to my channel or has over a long period of time understands that they have the ability to target specific DNA codes and strands. Look no further than that James Bond movie that came out about, how they could use bioweapons based on people's DNA. Now, this has more to do with being able to restructure and have your genetic code and do certain things with your DNA than it does to create bioweapons based on genetic code, but they have the ability to do that. They want your DNA, okay? So now they're using all of these events that they create. They create these events. Let's keep that in mind. They create it. They play dumb like they don't. This one, they're doing a pretty pathetic job. They're quietly trying to blame the climate, but they know that people are so onto them that they could barely even blame the climate at this point. People are so suspicious. So more and more people are starting to see that these people are creating these events. But it's problem, reaction, solution, okay? Obviously, we know what's going to occur, what they have planned with this land grab. But look how they're using this event as another way. Just like, this is the newest thing. This was never a thing. Okay, I was talking about the DNA stuff years ago and the Freemasons going after your DNA. Then we had this whole outbreak and stuff, right? But in between there now, we're having events occur at schools, at concerts, etc. And they're asking people to come forward and submit their DNA. This is a new thing. And they're trying to make this commonplace. And that's why I keep warning about Things like Ancestry, things like these true crimes where they're subliminally telling you how they were able to solve cases by getting people's DNA. And then certain countries, like places in the UK, want to make a law where people have to submit their DNA. So it makes life easier for the cops. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, then we don't have any of these cases go unsolved. Get the benefits of things like that. I do. But people don't understand the ability of these psychopaths, what they have, what they're capable of. Not just like how sick they are, what they're capable of through quote unquote science, what they can do with your DNA. And they want it. So they're using Maui now. And of course, conveniently, the same cop who was in Las Vegas just got shipped to Maui. And I mean, if you can't see bullcrap smeared in your face, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the acting couldn't have been worse. These people are pathetic actors. They mock, they do this stuff right in front of our faces where they're pretty much smirking or they're putting on what's like a D-level film. It's like a really cheap horror. Remember Blockbuster? They used to have like, the horror movie section, and you'd see some of the horror movies, you'd be like, what? Pumpkinhead? Or, you'd be like, what is this? Or something that looked like it was like Halloween, but it wasn't, or something that looked like Nightmare on Elm Street. It was like a D-level horror film. Well, these people are just like the same types of actors that would be in those. I mean, the acting is laughable in all these crisis events that they create. So keep your eye on this story. Obviously, residents in Maui, do not submit your DNA unless you actually trust these people. I understand people's concerns of being able to ID bodies and stuff, but at the same time, 100 years ago when things like this occurred, well, if somebody didn't come back and you're on an island, if somebody doesn't show up by now, give it another, where are they getting water, food and water and things like that? Lahaina is not a huge area. So, the odds are, nobody's going to be like missing. You would pretty much just be able to declare them, unfortunately, not alive. And you look at it and you say, well, they're not alive. Why? Well, they're not alive because you're government. But don't fall into another trap of theirs, which is getting your DNA. A reminder, please subscribe to my other channels, link below. I need more people over there, obviously, to make sure that when this channel gets terminated, the people will be there. Not much more I can say than that. Most of you already know the story. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families.